The reason which I became photographer from the 13 years old I started photography. I had this impression or some almost conviction that photography is going to be an important tool for the humanity, to tell the story of the human. This is the reason which I started photography, not as just playing with a tool or having fun with it. I really wanted to tell the story of the humanity. And I call my works is that photography for humanity. This is the direction of all the works which I am doing. So every single picture which I do, every single story that I'm doing, it's always based on how this picture or how this story is going to reflect the human history and how in the future will be part of the whole big history of the humanity by the time that I'm living, by the time that I'm witnessing it. That's the reason the humanist photographer, it is the name that many of the media, they picked up on my works, and it's going on now. It's always in my mind, even if I'm taking pictures or not. Maybe the best way of explaining, it's one of the Gandhi's word, which I praise a lot, is saying that every morning when you wake up and you are doing a project, the one question that you have to ask is thinking of the most vulnerable people that you have met and ask you, what I'm doing now, is it going to help these vulnerable people or not? So it's all based in this story, that how my pictures, my photograph, in many cases, will become the voice of the voiceless people. That's what I'm always looking at, the stories of the people, of the nation, of individual, then something happening to them, they have some story to say, but they don't know how to say, or the word ignore it. That's the reason that my photography is always goes for the humanity, and that's how in my mind every time I'm framing. If I had to make money, I will stay in Paris in my beautiful house, and every day I will just go to take a few pictures for advertising or fashion, and I will get 10 times more than money which I'm getting through what I'm doing now. So it is not a money story for all my works which I'm doing. I had refused a lot of advertising projects because I didn't believe in it. But very early in my works as a professional, when I started as a professional in 1979, quitting my architecture, I was quite in vogue architect starting, but then one day I decided that I have to take back to the photography and do works. In 1983, I was in Afghanistan for the first time, for the Time magazine, when Afghanistan was invaded by the Russian troops. At those years, we called them Soviet troops, which was the Russian in reality. And then I realized that it is so difficult for a journalist coming from Europe or America and going on foot to Afghanistan and recording whatever he could see in this vast story. So my first thing comes to my mind saying that why not to train some refugees, Afghan, and give them the cameras, and then, because they are the one that going to leave there and going back to Afghanistan, so they could photograph, and something will remain of it, being witnessed. Then the second thing which struck me, and that's one of the main reasons which I'm teaching and training, is that I realized that the wars and conflict, that they create two different destructions. One is the visible destruction, which is house destroyed and building destroyed or infrastructure destroyed or human body destroyed. These are the visual and visible destruction. But the main destruction which is not visible is the invisible wounds, the trauma that wars and conflict created. And we don't see them, but we see the result of those invisible wounds in the long terms. So when I realized it, then I find that all the efforts of the UN and the NGOs and the international organization, it is only rebuilding what was destroyed as infrastructures. They make houses, they make buildings, they rebuild the hospitals, but the people that has been in trauma, they have to live there, and this is not healed. One day I realized that in the Western countries, when something happened, like one shooting happened in the school, they have this police, then doctors came in, but immediately they have a group of the psychotherapists comes and start talking to everybody, getting out the trauma. And I said, this is fantastic, but what about the nation like Afghans, like Cambodian, like Angolan, that the whole nation has been in the war and the conflict, and who is going to be the psychotherapist? If we don't heal these invisible wounds, then the cycle of the violence will continue. A little boy that has seen his parent died under bombardment and his school destroyed and his home destroyed. If we give them only the house, if we give them only school, but what is important for him is to revenge her parents. So how we could come up with this concept of the healing the trauma? Then my answer was, we can't have psychotherapists coming from Europe to Afghan people or to Cambodian people. They don't have this psychotherapist in the countries, so who could help them? My answer was the women. The women of those countries, because they have this instinctive mother instinct, they could be really the one could help this nation. But then I said, what tool to reach the whole nation? The media was the answer. So coming all this putting together, I started my first training center for Afghan women in Kabul in year 2001. By training those women to become writer, journalist, filmmaker, videographer, and then helping them to create like a big radio station, Afghan Women Voices. Then help them to create a group of the videographers going and filming Afghan women's stories. Then helping them to create the first women magazine or children magazine. So I used bringing the media in those countries with the help of mainly women and teaching them not the commercial media, but a media that is responsible in front of the nation, that has the stories that little by little bring more peace and take out this revenge that is grown in those people. This is one of the main reasons that I started, and I'm still continuing those trainings and helping the population. Another story was that I realized that most of the time, the story of a people, of a community that are under fire is told by whom? By us. A few male white journalists living in Paris or New York or one of those big countries, traveling in this zone for a few hours or a few days, coming back and telling the story. So the whole world see the whole story of the happening through the eyes of a few male, white, living in the Europe or American megapoles. So my question was, why not to train those people that are suffering, that are living in refugee camps, or they are also living under the war? Why not helping them, teaching them, and giving them this tool to tell their own story. What they needed, just a few basic knowledge about journalism, of photography or videography, and a good tool. So that's why all my works, mainly all my incomes, goes to these stories actually. And if I look back now in the almost 41 years that I started these trainings in 1983 till now, I may have had a couple of thousand students in maybe 30, 40 countries in the world. Many of them are professional photographer. One got Pulitzer Prize. One girl got nominated to Emmy Awards, and a lot of other prizes that they got, and they are still getting it. But the most important thing for me is when the Taliban take over of Afghanistan, nobody was thinking that Afghan women could come on the street and demonstrate against Taliban, and it's happened. Over the years, it was the Afghan women, and when I looked to those women, they were, many of them, part of our students. They were many of them, they were one that brought off in the media that I launched it or I created. So the seeds of the knowledge, the seeds of the resistance has gone through those trainings, and that's why I keep continuing this. I just came from Cameroon now, and I have 10 students that I'm teaching them for 6 months, and they are going to have the first exhibition in Paris in June, which is called Cameroon Through the Cameroon's Eyes. That's the reason which I'm doing this Reza Visual Academy that does it. I should tell it in two different directions. The first direction is the human story. It started with my mother thinking to me when I was a child. This is this is my mother language. This is where I brought up. This is the culture that I was bringing up. But as a second direction, which is professional, actually, let me explain a little more in the first direction. The first one is coming through when you are a baby and your mother wants to, what you call this, lullaby?
Lullaby.
Lullaby, yes. So now, the first reason is the lullaby of my mother, which was in Azerbaijan language. Then when I grew up in the same language, the same culture in Iran, which was forbidden to speak Azerbaijan language, which was forbidden to talk to the people in Azerbaijani language. So all of them, they created a kind of envy on me that I wanted to know more about it. Then when Islamic Republic take over in Iran, and because of my photograph for Newsweek, which I was doing, and after revolution I was working mainly for Newsweek and the French SIPA press agency, which was distributing my works over more than 20,000 magazines and newspapers all around the world. They were getting my stories. And I was probably one of the first journalists start showing to the world the devil face of the Islamic Republic. So very soon I had to quit, save my life from Iran. Exile being in Paris. So living in exile, you wanted somehow to return back to your roots, find your roots. And I find that in two countries, Azerbaijan and Afghanistan, the two roots that I was grown up, which is Azerbaijani language and the Persian culture in Afghanistan. So these two countries somehow played an important role for me to resourcing, going back to my sources. But professionally, it's totally different. Professionally, what I'm doing in Azerbaijan, I have done in many other countries, which is when I find out that something's happening in a country and the people suffering and they don't have a voice to the world, which they are under pressure, they are suffering, but their story is not known to the world. The Azerbaijan history over the 30 years was the same. These people, they have been under two main suffering and I would say injustice. The first injustice was they lost their lands, they lost their lives, they became IDPs, they became refugees. This was a real, happening in part of the world. But the second that was even more important is that this story was told totally wrong way in the Western countries. That in the Western countries, it was Azerbaijani that were always portrayed being aggressive. That they were Azerbaijani that were always portrayed doing wrong to the Armenian. And this was the main professional reason that I concentrate my works on this story of Azerbaijan, mainly Karabakh, showing to the world that what they are getting information is a disinformation. They are under pressure of some lobbying in US and especially in France that tell the wrong story to them. So for somehow because I think that French nation, French people, they are hostage of disinformation by Armenian lobby. That's why I'm more concentrating on telling the story from this side. So two different reasons. One is personal, which the reason I told you, but the second is professional. And doing these professional works, I remain very, very attentive to be professional and tell the story as a journalist and not being an Azerbaijani or looking different way. Actually, the first times I came in Azerbaijan was in 1987, which was still the Soviet time. Country was closed, and when the Gorbachev started his opening program in the Soviet Union, the Azerbaijanis, they said, okay, can we invite some artists from abroad to bring to Baku? And they got permission. So they came to Paris, some of them. I said, we would like to invite you to come to Azerbaijan, which was fantastic for me. I loved it. And I came here, I met a lot of high-level intellectual. Bakhtiyar Wahabzadeh, he was famous writer, Fikrat Koja, Farhad Khalilov, many of those famous artists. So it became a connection with the artists and intellectual here for me. Then I went back to Paris and doing my regular other works in the other countries. One day, which was 21st January 1990, I was in Paris. And I got a call from an Azerbaijani who was working in the Soviet embassy of UNESCO in Paris. He told me, Reza, can I meet you? And I said, of course. What is the subject? His voice was shaking and he said, I can't say on phone, we have to meet so I could explain to you. And we had a meeting in a bar in a hotel in Paris. He arrived and I saw his face totally white. And I said, what's wrong? He said that the news is that the Russian army, they smashed the Azerbaijani demonstrator. And I don't know, talking about the hundreds died and wounded. And we desperately looking for a foreign media to go. But the Soviet, they have totally closed and they don't let any journalist to go in. What you can do? Well, he got the right guy because we are in 90 and over 10 years working for Time Magazine, Newsweek. I was the one famous sneaking everywhere, in South Africa, in Lebanon, in everywhere in Africa, everywhere that it was all the roads were closed for the journalists. The media, they knew who to call. They were calling me, Reza, could you go there? And I was always to find a way to go and get these pictures. And I immediately said, yes, of course. I will try my best. And I run to the Soviet embassy, 21st January, asking a visa, which at the time they were only giving visa for Moscow. And they asked me why you are doing it. I said, I'm going to do some fashion photography in Moscow. There's nothing about the Baku, no Azerbaijan, nothing else. Just I'm going to photograph the ballet and the fashion, cultural things. Immediately they give me a visa, and I fly to Moscow the other day. I think that the first airplane was the other day or 2 days after. Anyway, the first flight to Moscow. The only thing which I knew and I have got from this Azerbaijani UNESCO, the address of the Azerbaijan representative, which was called the embassy or representative in Moscow. When I arrived there, I saw hundreds of all the people there, and everybody is going around, and almost all the doors were broken. They said that last night, the KGB people, they came and they smashed all the doors and they take a lot of documents and papers. So people, they were really, desperate. And I met some of them that looks like they are the, head of the group or important people. And we discussed saying that how is possible to go to Moscow, to Baku? How is possible to go to Baku? I said, well, no way. I mean, because if you want to go by airplane, you need a visa to buy the tickets, and there's a lot of control, especially for Baku. It's all controlled by special forces of KGB, and it is not possible. I said, what about the road? He said, the road is almost, because you have also to cross some checkpoint, and it takes like a week, I don't know, to reach the, and what else? Train. And they said, yes, there's 2 trains. One is an express train, which takes less than 24 hours, but it looks like an airplane. You have to go by ticket with the visa and passport. The other one is a train which goes slowly and it stops almost in a small villages or whatever, and you don't need to have a visa. We could buy ticket in other names on it. I was accompanied with a Turkish friend and also a French Azerbaijani lady that she was speaking Azerbaijani and Russian very well, and French. She was a researcher. And my Turkish friend, he was going to have a small camera to film the whole things. So we start thinking about the scenario, how to take the ticket and how to go to Baku, all of us. These were the obstacles. One of the obstacles was that we were in a hotel which was called the Russia Hotel, which was the biggest hotel in Moscow, like 4,000 rooms, and all the foreigners and media, they have to be there. So we had a room there. Those days, every floor in the hotels in the Soviet times, they had a woman on each floor that was controlling, and they have the keys and controlling everybody's coming and who is coming and who is going around. So we will not be able to leave the rooms if we have to go to Baku. The lady will understand that we are not there, so we have to find a way for it. The second was what's happened if we are controlled on the road. So we put all this together, and the other thing was that there were other journalists that were coming from either other countries or they were already in Moscow doing other things, and they have heard about the Baku story, and they also wanted to come to Baku. So the representative of the Soviet government, I don't know, it was from Foreign Affairs Office or whatever government organization that were in charge of the foreign media. They came to the hotel and they said that, oh, don't worry, like we're going to hire a special airplane to Baku, and everybody that wants to come, this is the list, and we will take you to Baku tomorrow. So we were in this dilemma of what we do. We go with the airplane, they are going to take all the journalists, or we go to our main story, which is a train. My understanding is because I have been working a lot in Afghanistan before, and I knew a little about the Soviet or Russian tricks. My first reaction was that this is not true. This is something wrong. They are going to play something wrong to the journalists. So I went back again to this Azerbaijan representative people there, and I told them the story, and they all laughed. They said, they will never ever will take the journalists to Baku, so we better go in our own mission. The problem was that how to tell these foreign guys that I'm not coming with you. The best thing was saying that I feel sick, I'm not feeling good, and I may stay here, maybe you should take the other journalists later, I will come. And they were more happy that not me and the other being in the part of this team. The second problem was the rooms, how we manage that the lady will not understand that we are not at the room. So the way that they solved it, one of those Azerbaijanis, they got our key, the 2 rooms that we had. And over the few years that we were out of the Moscow, he was sneaking in and making our room bad. And the way that when they were coming and cleaning, they had a feeling that we are there. So this was solved. Then we take the train. And when we were taking the train, I saw these Azerbaijanis coming with a very heavy box in the train, cartoon box. And we had a small bag, one camera bag, one small, just one, a little personal bag. We put it over luggage, hide them, all of them in the back, and we sit down, dressed like a peasant, dressed like a guy which has a sport wearing, this only the same. And they teach me one Russian word, which is, I still remember, "Ya по-русски не знаем, я Azerbaijani." It means that I don't speak Russian, I am Azerbaijani. Because at those days, you had people from the other Soviet countries that they were not speaking full Russian, or very few. So it was okay not to speak Russian. This was. Then I realized what was in the box. When the controllers coming, they opened, there was a bottle of the vodkas inside. So every time a controller coming, they were giving a bottle of vodka and they left. So this was a kind of way that...
Bribery.
Yes, of course, yes. But we were drinking too, in the same time. But that was helping also the controller not really looking to us and asking our tickets or whatever. 2-3 times when I was out, just going to toilets, the controllers came to me and I just said, "Ya по-русски не знаем, я Azerbaijani," and they left me to go.
Were you scared? Were you scared?
No.
You weren't afraid?
It was more of always for me doing this kind of the things. It's more of a game than... Adventure.
Indiana Jones. Another movie analogy for you.
Because
and he wears a fedora also, right?
I have done the same in South Africa, for example, where a couple of times it's happened to me before. So it was a real game. And finally, after 40 hours, we reached Baku. We were all excited. and watching from the windows, entering the station, and then suddenly we all became white because you had all this line of the Soviet soldiers with the guns and the very long clothes that were waiting, and everybody was going out. They were asking the documents. Little I knew that when the train was stopping every time when we were coming, one of those Azerbaijanis, they were running out and they were making call to Baku. So every time that we were stopping, they were, and I was asking what you're doing. You said that we are organizing. We want to make sure that when we arrive, everything is okay. So that's how all this phone call that they were doing on the road, and also they have informed their friends, which I didn't know exactly who they are, in Baku, that, hey, we bring in journalists, you better take care of them getting out or whatever. That's when the guy said, don't worry, leave your cameras and everything's here, wait in the car. And this Azerbaijani, almost everybody has gone. Then we saw two beautiful girls with flowers, huge flowers, come on the train, and one take me and one another, the Turkish friend, and we started walking and said, what is it? And one of them speaking French, the girl, perfect French. Wow, who is it? I didn't know who she was. Later I find out. And she said, Reza, I'm going to play your fiancé. Just trust me. So we were really very close together and walking on this line that you have soldiers. We walked through them, and she was looking to these soldiers to pick up one that she could say some things. Probably was, oh, I haven't seen my fiancé for long times, and well, these kind of things is the moment that I learned that if you are afraid, then everything will collapse. So just leave you, when you are in this situation, you have to leave everything's open. If you are afraid, then especially the soldiers, they see your face, they understand that something wrong. So those situations, I always learn to play even more relaxed than, even if inside I'm a little tense, but having a relaxed face is the thing that could help you. So finally the soldiers, I don't know what she told him, but I do remember he did, okay, go. I always wondering what she told to him. So he was like smiling very hard and said, okay, go. And we passed through. And I was walking, the other also came. So both of us now, we are outside, 4 of us, and walking in this railway station with mainly military people, mainly. We came out, and then one man a little down waiting for us, and they knew. They went to him and they said, okay, just follow me. In a small alley, not far, maybe 50, 100 meters, maybe 50 meters even, there was 2 Lada cars waiting for us. We went, each of us, in one of those Lada cars with these girls, and the car started driving the old Baku, somehow after in the Targovas region. So at the night they take us in this residential area of the Baku. We entered the room, wow, and then we saw like 5, 6 people, quite high-ranking, maybe diplomats, maybe. I find out one of them was a member of the parliament. Later I find out, the only one which I remember. And then they welcomed us, they had some food for us, and then we sit down and they explained what's happened. And they said that we had just buried the first peoples, but still there are people in hospital, and this is the situation. Why we need you to really to photograph or film everything that is possible. And we asked some question. They have a Baku map actually showing to us where the military are, where the Russians are, and everything. So we decided that to keep this 2 ladder and each of us in 1 ladder, and hiding under the not under the seat, but in the back seat when you have the legs. So 1 people sitting in the back, and we were under it, and he had a like blanket over us with my camera, only 1 camera on it. We were dying, and then they were going. We didn't know where they go, and suddenly the car was stopped, and they were saying, "Mr. Reza, be ready, something in front." And then they knew that they were making sure that nobody would see, and I was coming out of the blanket. Yes, there is a tank over there, and take pictures of tank, and then going down. There's soldiers over there, take pictures of soldiers. It goes on for almost the whole day, couple of places. We came back to the same home, and they say that it's dangerous to stay at the home. We managed to get you fake documents, so we booked the rooms for you in this big hotel, which was called the Fairmont Hotels now. There was a Soviet time, there was another big hotel.
In Tourist?
No, in Tourist. Just where the Fairmont are, there was a big hotel there. So they take us in this hotel with the rooms and the other names for whatever is it. But every day we were coming out, the ladder was waiting for us, and we had a plan saying that where we go. There were 1 place which I asked to go, but was the morgue, because they were telling me that there was a lot of people in the morgue, but how to go there. One of them, this Azerbaijani, and me, we played together, and a little crying that we lost a family member, we are looking for family members. We came in, and they have a lot of a table with the hundreds of the portraits of the dead people, and they were looking for it. And once I realized that it's possible to take 1 or 2 pictures. That was the only time that I got the pictures of those portraits of the people around it, which was, for me, was fantastic. We were going 1 by 1, getting pictures. Then there was a place which we passed through many times. And it was an alley outside almost Baku, and there was a lot of almost the Russian military base. We had a lot of tanks, army personnel, and the military all around. So it was impossible to take pictures from ground, from the street. And I said, what about the building over there? Could you find someone that you know that is possible to go at his home, and we overlooking it? So one of them, they went down, and we keep by the car going, and a couple of almost. And finally, when he arrived, he said yes, he found an apartment that we go up. And we went up the apartment. There was a lady house who was at the home. She knew about what we were going to do, take pictures. She was afraid that if the soldiers say they will shoot us, because that's what they were doing it. And I locked, and I said, yes, this is quite dangerous. I can't even go with the camera to take pictures because they may see. And then I come up with the idea. I said to lady, the windows are very dirty. Would you mind to clean them? So she was, for an Azerbaijani lady at home, but you say that the windows is dirty. She became quite almost angry. She take back everything and she start cleaning, and this was what I wanted. So I hide myself in the back of her when she was cleaning, and with my cameras, I got the pictures of the whole tanks that standing there, and I thanks her for cleaning the windows, and that's how I got the pictures of the tanks on the street. Then it was the hospital, because they told me that there's a lot of wounded people in the hospital, and the surgeons, and they're working on it. We passed through. I said, let's go just to see from the car a little, and we passed it. The door was kept by the soldiers, not even the regular guards, but there were soldiers in front of the hospital door. We went a little, like 100 meters later. We stopped and we started talking to each other as how we could do, and my first reaction to them was, we have to find a way to attract the soldiers other places, even 5 meters, and if they can't, then we could sneak in. The two Azerbaijani guys looked at each other and said, we know how to do. So we drove back, me on the car, it was only me, not the camera, and waiting like 10 meters from the hospital. The two Azerbaijanis, young boy, they came out walking other side of the door, like 10 meters, and suddenly they start fighting each other, cursing each other's families, and fighting, a real fight. The soldiers, they run to them when they saw these two fighting, and this was enough time for me and another guys sneaking inside the hospital, running. And the good thing was that the guy that was with me the day before, I have asked him, could you go inside the hospital and find the exact way to the surgery room? So, or because those wounded people, they may not be everywhere. Go and find before. So he knew exactly where is the surgery room. And we just run up. The first things I saw was a broken window and a lot of steam on it. And then I looked back, and this was the surgeon working on it. And the steam, I find out, was coming because they didn't have the sterilizing materials. They were sterilizing all the knives and everything on a teapot that was on a heater inside a surgery room. And every time they were finishing, they put in there. So I got some pictures also of those work on the surgeon. We came back. The soldiers didn't care about us. We're coming back because they haven't seen us going in, and we just run and get out to the car. The other thing which I wanted to get now was, let's go to the place which they have buried the people. And they say that it is impossible. It's guard day and night with the whole soldiers around it. And everybody wants to go it. The paper controlled, and many people even they said that they were arrested just trying to go near it. And then they said, but tomorrow it's a special day, and there will be thousands of the people who are coming to pay tribute. And also there's one or two newly people died, they were wounded, and they will bury also these two people. So there will be thousands of people. That's how, again, I got dressed like a normal peasant, Azerbaijani peasant, with my one camera hidden on my back. And I walked with them, surrounding me, 4 or 5 of the Azerbaijanis. We entered this thousands of the people walking there. And obviously, there were probably, and 100% sure, the secret police or whatever between them, but they will not be able to come and to arrest in middle of all those thousands of people. They, the people, they were attacked them or whatever. But I was also taking pictures very carefully. If you look at my pictures those days, you can see that It's a special angles. It is not just every picture that you can say it. It was really heightened cameras and getting out and taking pictures. And then, so when I got all those pictures, we thought that we got enough materials. We have to go. And I was always looking for the other journalists, because I was asking, have you seen this group of the foreign journalists? And nobody said, we haven't seen anybody. Nobody is here. So now the problem is how to get out of Baku airport. It was controlled. They said that we had ticket for you with this fake name, the document. And the problem was how to take out our cameras with us, because the camera, they will see that we have cameras. And so again, this scenario was you keep your cameras aside, just take your clothing, your one box of clothing, and then they show us two Russian girls was sitting in the when people waiting for the going inside the airplane, they told me, you see these two girls over there? We looked at beautiful girls. Yes, we saw Russian girls. Said, they will bring your cameras.
And they did?
They did. And it was just, we passed through the check-in. They control us, they control our bags, and with the fake names, and so we were not able to process or whatever. Everything we had was on these films, and the girl which was carrying was my cameras and all my films.
You must have been terrified.
Of course I was terrified. All the times in an airplane I was walking to make sure that two girls are there, but we were told not to talk to them. Just no, don't show. But every time this was the most dangerous things to do in the Soviet time. If you put all the charges that they could have against me, lying in the embassy first, saying that I'm going to photograph the fashion in Moscow, then illegal travelings to in the country without visa. This is another charge of 20 years old. And then propaganda, taking pictures, having the fake documents. All of them, they were enough, one of them, to keep me 20 years in prison. But the fact that the story is so important that somehow someone could do it. And that's how when we landed in Moscow at the night, I remember a very cold night, we landed, I was just walking back of these two girls, having my eyes in these two girls that not disappear, because you never know. Maybe they were double agent or whatever, so I didn't want them. But finally, when we came walking a little more, then another Azerbaijani guys came, talked to these two girls in Russian, and asked, welcome, Mr. Reza. I didn't know him in Azerbaijani. Welcome back, come with us. And they take us in the car back to the hotel again, and they give us our bags. Our flight was the day after to Paris. In Moscow airport, obviously, we were questioned where you were, what you were doing, and we said we were photographing fashion, and I was in Russia hotel. I had the paper of the hotel showing them that I was in this hotel, and then they let me and my friend flying back to Paris. Arriving in Paris, I ran to the agency that was working for Gamma press agency, put the films on it, and when I explained the stories, the editors didn't believe me. You have to think of how the international media are always looking to the stories. For them was important to show that something in the Soviet area happened. But the Russian has played this Turkish face, which is always in Western media pushed back, and also putting this old Armenian story in front. So they somehow they had this scenario of the bringing up another story to pitch. But it didn't work as they wanted because the pictures was published, the film was gone on the TVs, and this was later all of Azerbaijani friends, which I had, the guy in UNESCO, everybody was coming. They were very grateful, saying that you are the only one that helped our voices to come out. I have been persona non grata to the Afghanistan already, but somehow this was before internet. You know, they had my name as someone which is photographing the Afghans and showing the Afghanistan all around the world. Now it's impossible. Now Google and I have been covering the wars from 1979 onward, almost every war that was happening for major world publication. I had a lot of prizes for my war photography. So being in a war zone, it was not for me something that I'm afraid of it. The main thing for me was how to get there and how to get the story, and what story always. So after this Black January, when little by little I heard about the war in Karabakh starting and fighting going on, obviously I wanted to one day to come and photograph it, but never had a real occasion. I was always busy doing the other stories, and mainly the magazine giving the assignment for me. Reza, you go there, and always assignment coming up. Couple of times that I have brought up this covering Karabakh with a different magazine, because I'm a freelancer. I can only go if I have a magazine which accept it and they take care of my expenses, and if something happened to me, then I'm covered in insurance and everything. For a couple of months, I was calling to all the major magazines, which they were always keen working with me, whatever I wanted to do. When I was saying that I want to go Karabakh, cover the war, they were asking me, which side? And I was telling them Azerbaijan. I said, no, we don't want it. If you go to Armenian side, then we will cover your expenses and we will pay you a day rate and whatever. So the truth is that at these times I didn't really realize how Western media are pro-Armenian and against Azerbaijan. I thought maybe it's just editorial line or whatever. Then one day was probably 27 or 28 February 92, I got another call from a friend saying that something wrong happened in Karabakh. We don't know what, but it's huge. Could you manage it? And the more I ask questions, the more I find that they don't know about it. They just know that it's something very, very strong happened on it. I take the plane. This was not any more Soviet era. I had to go Istanbul, Baku, and in Baku there was only one hotel, which was the Interest Hotel, which is a Hilton now, that all the foreigners were living there. So I arrived there. There was a French ambassador in one room and U.S. ambassador in another room, and two room was U.S. embassy, and another one room was French embassy, so another was Turkish. So everybody was there, all the foreigners, all kind of foreigners, and we were all seeing in the breakfast or dinner that all of them are it. And I was asking question about by the time the name of the Khojali always was, everybody was going Khojali, and Khojali has happened, and asking question, what's happened? People, the foreigner, almost they have heard about it, something happened, but they didn't know about it. And then I went to Foreign Affairs Ministry here, saying that I want to go there. I said that this is not on it's Minister of Defense. You have to go to Minister of Defense. So I went to the Ministry of Defense and checking the inside and finding the press guy and then saying that, well, I want to go to Khojaly. And he looks to me like, I said, sorry, no way, we don't allow foreign media to go there. Why? I don't know, this is the decision of the whatever. I went up to not the minister, but the highest level in the Ministry of Defense. And the answer was no, we don't allow you to go to Karabakh. Which became even for me more of the...
Challenge.
Yes, again, challenge and why. I mean, the question is why. The same day, back to hotel and having a dinner with the French ambassador, Mr. Perrin, and he told me, oh, by the way, there are 4 French nationalities arrived today in Baku. They are part of the humanitarian organization, medical, Médecins du Monde and Pharmaciens Sans Frontières. 4, 2 lady and 2 men. And if you don't mind, he said that invite them for dinner. I said, of course, let's have a dinner together. And they came, I started talking to them, and then I was almost thought that what I'm hearing is something wrong. They told me that we are here, we were sent with 1 ton of the medicament to bring to Stepanakert for the Armenian, because we heard that the Armenians are suffering a lot in the war and Azerbaijani killing them and they don't have enough food and whatever, which was true if you look back in France, because when I was in France before coming there, all the media was telling the same story. All the media was telling that the Karabakh poor Armenians are killed and are surrounded by Azerbaijan army, and they need food, they need medicines, and all this diaspora Armenian, that's how they make a living also. They all created this kind of the
fake news.
Exactly, that's how they get attention, by victimizing themselves. So I asked the French are you telling me that you bring 1 ton medicine here and you want to bring to other part of the front line, to the Armenian? I said, yes, that's what we have to do. That's why we were sent here, I said, okay, let's see what's happening. We had the same day breakfast, and what I remember that in the breakfast, I saw like 4 Iranian Revolutionary Guard, dressed normal, but with the beard and the way they were talking, they were high rank of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, which they were there. And they didn't know I'm speaking Farsi. I was with these French groups and I was listening to them, and I heard that they're all talking about the front line and we have to go to front line and we have to get information. This was mainly going on in their conversation. So I got a little interested of what is going on, why they go. Cut. The French, they say that we are going to get the permission from the government to take this big truck and the medicines to Stepanakert, to Armenia. Then I said, well, if you got the permission, I could help you on the road even. They had their own interpreter, one. But I said, well, I could come with you also. And they knew who am I. They knew my name. So they have a respect on a famous photographer being there. I said, well, why you don't put my name on the delegation and we go together? A couple hours later, they said back, I said, hurrah, we got the permission and you are on it. Let's go. And we started going to the first travelings from here we have to reach Agdam first. We arrived Agdam late evening or night, and then they told us that the road to Stepanakert is closed. They have a trench on it. The cars cannot go there. So if you had the permission, you have to stay in Agdam, take out the material, bring it on the road, and then another car will come over there. And so it wasn't possible to go directly to Stepanakert anyway. We had to stay night there, and I think that one doctor invited us at his home. We all went stay at his home. At the time when we were there, we didn't know about it. We just arrived in Agdam because Agdam was the main road to go there. We didn't know about it. We arrived the night there, tired, and we spent the night there. The day after, while the French, they were trying to organize their trips, I went out to find out what is it. And then I saw the group of the people, and everybody, when they saw me as a photographer, they told me, come with us, come with us. And then I find myself in the back of the Agdam Mosque, hundreds of the people gathered, crying, and understand what they were talking about it. But they were not telling to me, they were just talking between them. So more I start going around and just taking a few pictures of the faces and everything, then I realized that was the moment when I was there, not in Baku, that I realized what's happening in Khojaly. At the time, then there was some militia that they came to me, who are you and whatever, and I said, I'm a photographer, and do you have permission from the Ministry of Defense? I said, no, but I'm with this French delegation. They said, we have to take you to our commander. I said, sure, let's go. But the commander was not a military, the whole group. They were volunteer people at the time. There was no military. The guy was called Alaverdi Bagirov, the commander, who was a tall guy, very nice, and I immediately feel that this is a real guy because of my experience in the other wars and everything, and the way that he was talking to the people, the way that people talking to him, and then
he was commanding.
Yes, he was real commanding, and he sit down and I explained everything to him. Even I told him that Ministry of Defense didn't let me in, and I'm with these foreigners. They want to take the medicines to Stepanakert, and they have the permission to go there. He got almost mad. He said, Stepanakert, they have tons of the medicines in the hospital. I know about it. And then he said that, I was running a restaurant here in Agdam before the war. And I know all these people. I am friend with all of them. They were all coming to have the good kebab in my restaurant. So I know all this Armenian. That's why I'm in contact with them. They don't need medicines. We need the medicines. We have all these wounded people and everybody. And I said, listen, this is your story with them. I'm here to document, photograph, and then he said, okay, you are under my protection, you can do whatever you want. So I start photographing the whole people, and I saw a Red Cross car coming. I went there, and there was a guy from Switzerland. Hello, bonjour, comment ça va? He looks to me, a journalist, French, you come here, how do you come? I said, well, I got permission from commander. Oh, very good. We start talking, and then he started telling me, usually the Red Cross, they are very quiet. What I was getting little by little from him, it was showing the real, the escape of the scoop of the tragedy, what he was telling to me.
Because he was so shocked by what he'd seen.
Yes, yes, himself. Somehow I managed him to have dinner with all of us, with this French. So they start talking to each other. They were also doctors and people from the pharmacy. So they were starting getting information not from me or not from interpreter, by Red Cross guy telling to them what's happened there. And they start, I can see in their face that something wrong happening to their faces, because everything they were getting on the field, it was totally different than what we were getting in France through the media or through the organization. So the day after Alaverdi Bagirov, the commander, said to me that I'm going to meet Armenian counterpart coming from Khojaly and Stepanakert, because we are dealing the exchange of the prisoners. I said, oh, you have prisoners? He said, yes, because they have taken a lot of prisoners and we took some to exchange with them. And I'm the negotiating. Later I find out that this Alaverdi saved the thousands of the people by negotiating their release. It was just unbelievable. What he did, now even all these Azerbaijanis, they know about how he was helpful to rescue thousands of them. Then he told me, well, I just want to tell you some things. When we reach the Armenian, don't speak Azerbaijani, just speak French. You are a French citizen, you are a French journalist. If you want to speak to me, just in front of them, say some word in English, but not to speak Azerbaijani. I said, okay. When we arrived there was a group of the Azerbaijani arrived. There was a trenches on the road, digging. They sit there, and the Armenian in front. They start. They have all the papers, name of the prisoners, and to be released, and the signing papers. It was so official. It was just unbelievable. Seeing this story in the middle of those things, and I went a little back on the other side. There was Armenian soldiers on the other side of the trenches. And I had at the times, I had a Polaroid camera with me, which I was using, take pictures first and giving to the people. It was making a little friend, you know. So the Armenian soldiers came to me and said, oh, something in Russian. And I said, ya по-русски не знаем, я францави. Oh, French. And then they call a guy, another soldier, which was at the back, calling him, and they talk to him probably in Armenian, that's showing me, and suddenly the guy started speaking French to me. Perfect French. He didn't let me take his picture. I brought off the Polaroid. There was two Armenian. One of them was quite drunk, and I take them Polaroid. I give to them, and I see that I take pictures of them with my Polaroid in their hands. The French guy from the beginning said that no, don't take my picture. He said that his name is George, which I thought is the wrong name. George, it's like just a nickname probably. But I started talking to him, and he said that we have a lot of French. I'm not alone. There's a lot of other French. They came here to fight. I said, what about other countries? They said, oh, Armenian all over are here. We are defending. I brought a little yes, we are from America, from Lebanon. I said, oh yes, I met the Armenian in Lebanon in the war in '82. They were very good snipers, the Assad guys, which is true. And he said, yes, all our snipers from Lebanon, they came here now. They're fighting, which was true, because I have met many later, a lot of people that has got one bullet here. Myself was 3 times. They got my hat once. They got my ears here.
A grazing.
Yes, and then one
in Karabakh.
In Karabakh, in the Shusha. This is the incredible moment when one of those soldiers, they take out a teaspoon from his pocket here, and he shows me by laughing and telling some things. And I said, look around, there's no tea, what is it? And the George, which exactly what he said. He said that, oh, they play the game. That's what exactly the word he used. C'est un jeu, en français. C'est un jeu. I will tell in French. Quand il trouve des Azerbaïdjanais, il crève l'œil. When he find an Azerbaijani, he take out the eyes with this teaspoon. This is what I hear, and the guy is holding a teaspoon in front of my face. For 1 second, I thought that they know I'm Azerbaijani. So this is all, as he said, is a game, and because they may have informer and people that inform in Agdam that talking to them and has told them that this guy is Azerbaijani. So I thought that, wow, I put myself in a trap. So I was looking back how I could run fast back to the trenches if something they were coming to me, but they didn't really. And I asked again, but what do you mean taking out eyes? I said, yes, you know, that's what they do. It's a game for them. It's un jeu for them. It's a game for them. Which was first times in all wars I was hearing about it. Then it recalled me when I was hearing from the survivors that saying that the Armenian mutilating the faces and the eyes, but you know, so this all start putting dots in my head. It was at this moment that we saw the cars of the prisoners came and both sides, and then I went to take pictures inside each car of the Armenian and then Azerbaijanis coming from the other side. And when the Azerbaijanis came out of the car, then I realized that this poor guy, they have been in such a terrible situation that two of them, they were not able even to walk. They have to carry them. They were young, some of them, but they have been in a really tough situation. You can see in their faces. And one of them, two of them actually, they were so shocked that they were just crying and no word. One of them later, when they bring them back to Agdam, where the family was waiting for them, his mothers ran to him, calling him, "Oh, my son!" The son didn't even look to the mother. He was just crying and just walking like a zombie. You know, this was just the scene which is I have seen and I photographed them. Yeah, I have those pictures. We may find someday those people. What is it? I have thought a lot about this problem or this question that because I have seen like military people or even humanitarian people that after 2-3 wars they have totally broken, and the way which I think that I still am able to go in these places and to see those people and to talk to those people, to go to the war zone, is first of all this inner peace which I got of knowing the impact of being witness in the history of the humanity. This is so important, that give you an inner peace that you see, okay, this is very difficult, this is very dangerous, I'm wounded, I may be, but as a witness, the world and the history of humanity need those pictures, because one day all of those pictures will talk what's happened. And if I have to, if I'm the only one that are able to do this, let's go for it, let's do it, you know, don't think about it. I keep, yes, I do sport and yoga and all kinds of things that could help me to, you know, running under the bullet when you are 72 years old, you need to be able to do it. Looking back now, what he has done, I'm always, I regret not photographing him more than what I did. I really regret not spending more time with him, because every time I think about his action and his words, he's one of those historical people that in the history of each nation, they come very rare, and they are founder. They are founding something new. They are turning a page in the history of a nation. And he was one of those people, you know. One of the things which I have never told about it is that was in '97 when in some event few people they were there and we had a meetings, and he saw me and he said, "Oh, how are you, Reza? Thank you very much for what you do for Azerbaijan." And then he looks to me and he said, "What can I do for you?" And I looked to him and I said, "Mr. President, this is the question that I was going to ask to you. I'm here to serve these people in Azerbaijan with my work. You have to tell me, what can I do for you and for the country?" Believe me, it was the first time I saw he got tear in his eyes, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he looks at me and said, "If I had 10 people like you, I will make a paradise this country." Then he laughed. He said, "Oh," he was always joking. He said, "Oh, I was thinking that you are going to ask also for a house like everybody else." So, and I said, "President, I have a house in Paris. My home is there." So this was some things that I understand how he was knowing what I'm doing, and the way that he asked me, he very close that what can I do for you? It meant that it was meaning for him to do something, and I said no. During the Khojali, I even didn't think about it because still the fighting was going on. Still the fighting was going on. I stayed more than a month on the front line after Khojali, traveling all around and reaching Shusha and being the last witness of the Shusha when I came out few weeks after or week after Shusha was taken. I get deeply convinced that those people will get back their lands when I met a refugee and IDP from Fuzuli. The story he told me that the Armenian they came and to say us that we open the road and you take everything you want and you go out. We don't bother you. Then he said that at the time we didn't know that this is a trap, because everybody was going to take their most valuable belonging. All right? So we take everybody like the most valuable belonging, and they have put the buses, Armenian. We went on the buses. We came out of the Fuzuli, and a couple of 100 meters later, there was a checkpoint, and they stopped the bus and they asked everybody to come out and put the women's side and the men's side, and they said to the men, "Empty your pockets. Empty your pocket." Even all the belonging that we had, they said, "Leave everything in the buses and empty your pocket." And then they went to the woman and they start getting the rings, and one of the men, he said that he was very religious. He was so, like Azerbaijani man that someone touching his wife, he got so emotional, angry that attacked the soldier. "Don't touch my wife." And one of the soldiers just shot him in front of everybody. They say that the Armenian forces, after they got everything out of pocket and everything, they say us, "Okay, now, because of this man who has, fighting, he was killed even there, but now take out all your shoes and run from here. Get out of here."
Women also.
Everybody. So he said that they take our shoes and we have to walk. Can you imagine? The whole story, this is the ending. He said that, but you know, Mr. Reza, the most valuable thing which I had they didn't get it. And I said, what was it? He put his hand in his pocket, exactly, let me see. And he said, this is what they didn't get it. My key, my house key, because I'm going back. That's when I realized that these people definitely will take back their home, because when you got your key with you can't forget your home. That's the. There have been times that many Azerbaijanis, even like a few years ago, they were saying, "No, it's gone, everything is finished," and I was saying, "No, you will see." And I always thinking that that's why I said the Heydar Aliyev was a visionary. Many times he was so convinced that they will get back the lands. Now I think that his peace treaty was the beginning of the getting back the land. He knew what he's doing. Even if those times you had people that accused him of giving land and why you did peace treaty, and he was looking saying that you will see. And everybody see now. Do you know the most incredible thing is? The day Fizuli was liberated, I went there. On the road, there were 2 buses. When I say buses, the skeleton of the buses with the trees coming out and everything, I photographed them. Because I don't know if they're the same buses.
Those might be the buses.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but maybe. But the most incredible thing is, you know what was on the ground? Armenian soldiers' shoes. When they flee. And the whole things came in my mind saying that this is the justice.
I see.
You
That's
see?
really powerful.
The Armenian soldiers' clothes, because many of them, when they were fleeing, they were getting rid of their whatever they had.
The uniforms.
uniform.
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm back after 20 whatever years, after this story of the buses and everything, and I see just 200 meters after the guy has told me exactly 2 buses, skeleton. It's dramatic pictures.
Yes, yeah.
It's even the pictures of these buses is artwork, art piece. You will see. And then I saw the Armenian soldiers' boots and shoes and everything's there. Oh my God!